Welcome to Messianic Age once again. We are looking at the end of the age, answering the question, what shall be the signs of the coming of Jesus and of the end of the age? Jesus said in Matthew 24 that when nation rises against nation, when there are famines and pestilences, he says these are the beginning of birth pangs, often translated in the Bible as beginning of sorrows, but the correct word is birth pangs or birth pains. And the question we asked and answered in the last video was, what is being birthed? If there are birth pains, what is being birthed? And the answer was, the nation of Israel is being birthed. The real nation of Israel, with its 12 tribes that are distinguishable from one another, is being birthed. The nation of Israel, the genuine, authentic nation of biblical Israel, as opposed to the state Israel, the state of Israel which exists now, is being reborn. And in the prophecy of Malachi, chapter 4, God said to Israel that he will send Elijah before Jesus comes back, before that dreadful day, dreadful for the whole world, of course, of the coming back of Jesus. He said he will send them Elijah. Elijah, as one of the two prophets, as one of the two witnesses, will go and regather Israel. And this is found in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. That is the ministry of Elijah, the valley of the dry bones. Let us read. Ezekiel 37 from verse 1. The hand of Yahweh came upon me and brought me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was full of bones. Then he caused me to pass by them all around, and behold, they were very many in the open valley, and indeed they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of Adam, can these bones live? So I answered, O Yahweh God, you know. Again he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Here we see that Ezekiel was shown the vision of the prophecy of the valley of the dry bones. And is asked to prophesy to the dry bones. Likewise, Elijah, who will fulfill this prophecy, will come and prophesy to Israel as one of the two witnesses, as one of the two prophets who comes at the end of the age before the coming of Jesus. Let's continue. Verse 5, thus says Yahweh God to these bones, surely I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. I will put sinews on you, and bring flesh upon you, cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live. Then you shall know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and suddenly a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. Indeed, as I looked, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them over, but there was no breath in them. And he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of Man, and say to the breath, thus says Yahweh God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on this lane, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They indeed say, Our bones are dry, our hope is lost, and we ourselves are cut off. So we see here that the dry bones represent the Israelites who have been cast out of their own land, who have been dispersed throughout the world, who have gone into slavery, who have forgotten their God due to their adulteries, harlotries of going after other gods and worshipping the gods of the nations to which they were cast. We see that at the end of the age, before Jesus returns, Elijah is sent to these Israelites to prophesy to them. According to the book of Revelation chapter 11, he will prophesy for 1,260 days, which equates to 3.5 years in a 30-month calendar year. So the 1,260 days is 3.5 years that Elijah will go to the Israelites and preach unto them and regather them and reconcile them back to their God and reconcile them to the Most High of their ancestors, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, who is also called Israel. We are also told in verse 9 that he prophesies to the breath. He prophesies to the four winds. He says, breath, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on this land, that they may live. Now, this breath of four winds, it is also mentioned with regards to the birth of Israel in Revelation chapter 7. In Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7 from verse 1. After these things this is John now, saw the four angels standing at the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And from verse 5 all the way to verse 7, the 12 tribes are mentioned. 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes are sealed to create 144,000, which is the rebirth of the nation of Israel. So we see that the four winds that are spoken about in Ezekiel 37 correspond with the four winds that are mentioned in the book of Revelation chapter 7. Is the rebirth of the nation of Israel under the ministry of Elijah the prophet. 144,000 Israelites, 12,000 from each tribe of Israel, will be sealed. For what purpose? To preach the gospel, to reach out to the world, but specifically to the other children of Israel. Remember that when Jesus was on earth, he said that he was sent only to the lost house of Israel. Likewise, Elijah, whose name means Yah, is God. Just like the name Jesus means Yah is salvation. And Jesus was God in the flesh. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So in the name Elijah or Elijah, you also have Yesu or Yeshua or Yahshua, meaning the salvation, or Yah is salvation. Both have the Yah sound. Elijah and Yesu or Yasu, they all have that word, Yah. So Elijah will come as the end time Jesus, who prepares the way for the real Jesus, as a foreshadow of Jesus, and reach out to the Israelites and gather them and prophesy to them, bone to bone, flesh upon them, call upon the breath from the four winds, and the nation of Israel will be reborn. Ezekiel 37 verse 14. This is what the Most High says. I will put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your own land. So after they've heard the gospel, after they've heard the preaching, after they've been regathered, after the woman Israel has been reborn, she shall be taken back to her own land. And where is that land according to the Bible? Let us go to Genesis chapter 13 and read from there. Genesis chapter 13 says, Then Abraham went up from Egypt. That's from verse 1. Then Abraham went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, to the south. Some translations leave the south untranslated and they call it the Negev. Negev simply means south. Throughout the entire Bible, the word Negev means south. Abraham was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold, and he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel. He's gone to the south, and from the south, he moves to Bethel, which is also in the south, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Ai. Both these locations, Bethel and Ai, are south of Egypt. The map of Egypt, ancient Egypt, was where the modern Egypt is approximately. Below that was the land of Cush, also known as Ethiopia, which corresponds with modern-day Sudan. Below that are the sub-Saharan African countries, Congo, Uganda, and Kenya. Just below that. Now, the Promised Land is in Southern Africa. It's below Sudan. It's below Cush. The real Israel, land of Israel, is not in the Middle East, according to the Bible. This is Genesis chapter 13, right at the beginning. The 13th chapter from creation. already maps out very clearly where the land of Canaan, which became known as the land of Israel, was. That it was south of Egypt. That the cities of Bethel and Ai, which are mentioned as locations in the promised land of Israel or Canaan, are south of Egypt. They are in sub-Saharan Africa. So in Ezekiel, the Most High makes it clear that once the woman Israel is reborn, she will be sent back to her own land in sub-Saharan Africa, the true land of Israel, the land of milk and honey, the land of minerals, the land of that is teeming with wildlife, the land of gold and precious stones, the land of rare earth minerals, the land where they could dig copper out of the hills, like they do. Zambia in Southern Africa has got one of the biggest copper reserves in the world. So Israel will be taken back to her land of Southern Africa, the sub-Saharan Africa, the land of milk and honey. Let us read further. In verse 12, it says, Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. Now, I won't dwell a lot on the history of, on this question of the land. We'll have another video on it, of Israel. But even Sodom and Gomorrah was in Africa. It wasn't in the Dead Sea. There is a place in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, that has got, it's called the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia, which fits very much the landscape that is described after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by sulfur, which is also known as brimstone. That the Most High rained upon the land of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the Danakil Depression resembles hell to this day. It's one of the hottest places on earth. It's got its own salt sea, which is much saltier. Its salinity, they haven't been tested, is much saltier than the Dead Sea in the Middle East. The Danakil Depression in Ethiopia fits the description of Sodom and Gomorrah. And even today, there's a lot of sulfur content on the soil, showing complete destruction. So the woman Israel is rebirthed, the nation of Israel is rebirthed and placed in sub-Saharan Africa, the land of milk and honey. and Sodom and Gomorrah, which bordered the land of Israel, was in modern-day Ethiopia, around the Danakil Depression, which means that the lands next to Ethiopia, which is Kenya, Uganda, coming down, that is part of the promised land of Israel. So the woman Israel is being reborn by the sealing of the 144,000 who go on to preach to the whole world, but specifically to the lost house of Israel. And the lost house of Israel is reconstituted with all the 12 tribes. Now let's look in the Middle East and the state of Israel. They claim to be Israelites. They don't have the 12 tribes. They don't know to which tribe they belong to. They do not fit the description of biblical Israel because they are not. They are a counterfeit. But in these last days, and very, very soon, the Most High is going to send Elijah. From any time now, I'm recording this video on the, is it the 18th? The 19th, Thursday, the 19th of March, 2026. And I want you to listen very carefully. This is very important. We are no longer counting in decades. We are counting in years. Listen very carefully. The two witnesses, the two prophets, of whom Elijah is one, are going to come back at any time starting this year. I'm not saying it will happen this year, but starting this year, 2026, from now on, the two witnesses will come back at any time. We're counting in years. Starting from 2026, the two witnesses will come back. What we see happening in Iran, the wars that are happening. We've got the war in Iran, that is the United States and Israel against Iran, which may actually blow up to involve even more countries. We have Russia versus Ukraine, which is still ongoing. And following these wars, especially the one in Iran, where oil prices are going up and famines are following. The war in Iran will be accompanied by famines due to high prices of food and other items. Jesus said, these are the beginning of birth pangs. These wars are a beginning of birth pangs. And the famines that are just around the corner, there will be famines, there will be hunger, there will be shortage of food. It's accompanying these wars. The four horsemen of Revelation have bolted and they cannot be stopped. Death is coming. That's the green horse. And those who have not saved, those who don't follow Jesus, will die and be taken by this green horse that is followed by hell, and they'll be taken to hell. There is time no more. These are the birth pains. The woman Israel is about to be reborn. The two witnesses are about to be birthed out of the woman Israel who has been restored. Israel is about to give birth to the two witnesses with the coming of Elijah and his co-prophet. And the worldwide ministry that they bring. In Revelation chapter 12, when this woman, Israel, has been reconstituted and she gives birth to the male child, which are the two witnesses. The two witnesses will be killed after 3.5 years, but they will be taken up to heaven. And that's what we read about in Revelation chapter 12. And Revelation chapter 12 reads, she, verse 5, she, that's Israel, the woman, bore a male child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, and a child was caught up to God and to his throne. Okay. In Revelation chapter 12, in Revelation chapter 11, from verse 7, it says that when they, that is the two witnesses, that is the male child, finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. Verse 11, but after the 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them, and they stood on their feet, and a great fear fell on those who saw them. And they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, come up here. And they ascended to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies saw them. So you see, this is exactly what it says in Revelation chapter 12. That the woman, that the child, this male child, these two witnesses, her child was caught up to God and his throne. It says that in Revelation chapter 12, verse 5. So that is the male child. The 144,000 are left behind. That is the woman Israel. And the scripture says that, verse 13 of chapter 12 of Revelation. Now, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. This refers to the wise virgins. Remember the parable of the wise virgins? Jesus comes back at midnight. Midnight is the time of tribulation. It's the time of Jacob's trouble. It's the time of the persecution of Jacob, the Israelites. So after 3.5 years of being brought back to the land, evil will rise. Satan will fall from heaven. A beast will rise from the sea to be the king of the earth, the fisher king. And a false prophet, a warrior king will rise from the bottomless pit and kill the two witnesses. But the woman will be rescued and sent to the wilderness, where she is nourished for 3.5 years, the same period that the beast, the Antichrist, will rule. The 144,000 will be taken to the wilderness. In Hosea chapter 2, from verse 14, the Most High says, therefore, behold, I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness. The woman Israel is taken to the wilderness. Did you hear that? The woman in Revelation is taken to the wilderness for 3.5 years. Is the same woman who was prophesied in Hosea. She will be taken to the wilderness. And the Most High says he will speak comfort to her. Verse 15, he says, I will give her her vineyards from there, and the valley of Echo as the door of hope. So somewhere in Southern Africa, there's a valley of Echo where this woman will be taken to. She shall sing there as in the days of her youth, as in the day when she came up from the land of Egypt. Now here's a secret I want to tell you. That the land of milk and honey, the land of Israel, when the devil falls from heaven and the fisher king rises from the sea, the beast of the sea, and the warrior king rises from the earth, from the bottomless pit, will be turned into Egypt and Sodom. And the 144,000 who allegorically are called the woman Israel will be taken to the valley of Echo in Southern Africa. And there they will be nourished for times and half a time. And what will happen there? Verse 16, and it shall be in that day, says Yahweh, that you will call me my husband and no longer call me my master. So the woman Israel whom God had divorced is now a virgin. She has been cleansed. She is taken to the wilderness, and there she is engaged. She is betrothed to her husband. She is the bride of the Lamb. She is the bride of Jesus that is spoken of in the book of Revelation. Let's continue in the next video to explore this woman and the resurrection of this woman, the rebirth of this woman, who also gives birth to the two witnesses, to the two prophets. Thank you so much.